Hi there! Welcome to What is Islam Academy. Let's learn about Islam together.
If Islam is a universal religion, why does it seem so outdated? Why doesn't it evolve with time? Why doesn't it adjust to the modern ideals of freedom, gender equality, and human rights? This question might sound reasonable at first glance, until you look a little deeper. Let's ask an even deeper question. Who defines modern human rights? And why should they be the gold standard? Let me begin by quoting a United Nations report. Yes, the UN, not the Quran. There is no universally agreed definition of human rights that is accepted by all nations. This isn't a minor disagreement over wording. It reflects a deep philosophical chasm between civilizations. Western thought, rooted in secular humanism, often clashes with Eastern and Islamic perspectives that prioritize community, duty, and divine law. For instance, the 1993 Bangkok Declaration saw Asian nations challenge the West's emphasis on individual political rights, arguing for the primacy of economic development and national sovereignty. That's not from a Muslim scholar. That's from Western institutions themselves. This admission is profound. The very bodies championing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR, concede its lack of universal acceptance. It begs the question, how can something be declared universal if it wasn't universally created or agreed upon? The UDHR was drafted in 1948, a time when much of the world was still under colonial rule, with their voices largely absent from the conversation. It was a product of a specific historical moment and a specific set of victors. This is why what's considered human rights today was very different 50 years ago, and maybe totally different 50 years from now. These secular values are built on the shifting sands of social consensus. They are like a ship being built at sea, constantly patched and redesigned with whatever materials are available, lacking a fixed original blueprint. The moral compass of one generation points in a direction that the next generation deems abhorrent. Let's look at history. In the early 20th century, colonialism was promoted as a civilizing mission, a moral duty encapsulated in concepts like the white man's burden. Prominent Western thinkers justified dominating other nations for their own good. Today, we rightly call this racist exploitation. Slavery was not only legal but philosophically defended in the West less than 200 years ago, with thinkers from Aristotle to later race theorists arguing some people were natural slaves. Apartheid in South Africa, a system of brutal institutionalized racism, only ended in the 1990s. And the fundamental right for women to vote was denied in many Western nations until well into the 20th century, 1971 in Switzerland, for example. So if human rights keeps shifting, like fashion trends, should Islam, a divine guidance, follow the fashion? We are presented with a constantly changing landscape of man-made ethics, where the moral certainties of one era become the grave sins of the next. The real question isn't just whether Islam should adapt. It's why a complete system, claiming its source is an all-knowing, timeless creator, would ever need to subordinate itself to the fluctuating, historically fallible, and often contradictory consensus of human beings. Should the eternal be judged by the temporary? Should divine wisdom be measured against the whims of man? A common question is whether Islam should evolve to match modern ideologies. The answer lies in a fundamental distinction: the difference between subjective opinion and objective truth. Islam's foundation is built on the latter, because truth, by its very nature, doesn't evolve. In our modern world, the very idea of objective moral truth is often challenged. We're told that morality is relative, a social construct that changes with time. But this view leads to a logical dead end. If all morality is relative, then we can't objectively condemn actions like genocide or slavery. We can only say they are out of fashion with our current societal preferences. This is why we look to objective anchors. Consider mathematics. The truth that 2 + 2 = 4 is absolute and unchanging. It was true before humanity discovered it. Similarly, consider the laws of physics. Gravity existed and governed the cosmos long before Newton formulated his theory. Our understanding of gravity evolved with Einstein's theory of relativity, but the underlying reality of gravity itself did not change to suit our new model. The truth was constant. Our perception of it deepened. Divine revelation functions in a similar way, unveiling objective, moral, and spiritual truths that are as real as the laws of physics. This is why, Near the end of the Prophet Muhammad's life, God revealed a conclusive verse in the Quran. "This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you." Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:3. The words perfected and completed signify a system that is comprehensive and final in its core principles. If a system is perfect, you don't update it, you apply it. This doesn't mean the system is static. It means the timeless principles are applied to new circumstances. This is the genius of the Islamic legal tradition, where scholars address contemporary challenges, from bioethics to digital finance, using a stable framework. The need for this divine anchor becomes clear when we examine the history of man-made laws. If humans were consistent in defining justice, there'd be no need for revelation. But history shows us the opposite. Legal systems once enshrined slavery and racial segregation. What was a moral certainty one century is condemned as barbaric in the next. Man-made laws contradict themselves because they are based on shifting human whims. Divine law, however, provides a stable, objective moral compass, allowing us to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Let's take examples. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association considered certain behaviors, let's call them rainbow science lifestyle, as mental disorders. Today, if you question that lifestyle, you're the one considered sick. In some countries, drug use is decriminalized. In others, it's punishable by law. Euthanasia, prostitution, gambling, all were illegal just a generation ago, and now they're praised as freedom. So ask yourself, should Islam evolve to match values that evolve every decade? Or should humanity align itself with a consistent divine guidance? Let's be real. In the name of freedom, modern secular nations have invaded countries illegally, killed millions in wars under the guise of democracy, legalized exploitation through pornography, drugs, and usury, destroyed the family unit, and they want to lecture Islam about ethics. The same modern rights say a 14-year-old can change gender, but can't vote or drink soda in some schools. Is this really a moral high ground? Islam promotes rights, but with boundaries that protect both individual and society. Islam guarantees women rights 1400 years ago, before the West even gave them voting power. Islam prohibited slavery, racism, and injustice before the UN existed. Islam commands justice, dignity, mercy, and accountability. But Islam does not promote absolute freedom without responsibility. That's chaos. And that's why Islam doesn't change its principles based on pressure groups or political trends. So if someone asks me, why doesn't Islam evolve to match modern human rights? I say, you mean those same rights that change every 10 years? Those rights that allow killing of babies in the womb but punish feeding the homeless without a permit? Islam is not backward. Islam is consistent. Islam is principled. Islam is divine. And the truth doesn't evolve. The world needs to evolve to the truth. My dear viewer, if you're truly sincere, I urge you, don't measure Islam by the yardstick of today's media or politics. The media, driven by profit and narrative, reduces a profound way of life to sensationalist headlines. Politics, a realm of temporal power, often misrepresents faith for worldly gain. To judge a vast ocean by a cup of polluted water is a grave intellectual error. Instead, measure Islam by its impact on the soul, on society, on eternity. On the soul, it provides sakina, or tranquility, and a purpose that transcends the material. For society, it offers a framework that historically fostered justice and intellectual flourishing, with systems like zakat to institutionalize compassion. And for eternity, it provides a coherent map for the soul's journey beyond this fleeting world, giving ultimate meaning to our existence. Now, consider the alternative, the framework of secular human rights. Its foundations are built on the shifting sands of human consensus. What was a right a century ago is different today and will be different tomorrow. We see fundamental concepts like family, life, and freedom constantly redefined by cultural trends and political pressures. This moral relativism offers no stable anchor, leaving society adrift in a sea of perpetual confusion. It's a system in constant flux. But Allah's guidance is unchanging. It is not the product of a committee or a courtroom. It is the divine instruction manual for humanity, written by the creator of the cosmos. The one who engineered the laws of physics and biology is surely the most qualified to legislate a moral code in perfect harmony with our nature and ultimate purpose. His knowledge is perfect, his wisdom infinite, his guidance is a timeless, universal mercy. This is why the Quran asks, "And who is better in judgment than Allah for a people who have certainty?" Quran 550. If this episode helped shift your perspective, share it with someone who thinks Islam needs to update itself. Help them understand that the issue isn't a timeless faith conforming to a temporary age. The challenge is for us, as temporary beings, to align ourselves with the timeless truth. Let them know, perfection doesn't need an update. People need an upgrade.